Hello and welcome back to another video on the channel. Before we get started with today's questions, there's a few things I'd like to mention. First, I want to apologize for the wait. As some may know, school just started back up for me and it's taking up most of my day, so finding a time to make and edit videos is difficult. But I am trying my best, so thank you to all for being patient. The second thing I want to mention is that recently the channel unlocked the community tab. I'll be posting polls, updates, or small news about the game that doesn't need a whole video dedicated to it underneath this tab. Now, back to the video. Today I'll be answering your questions. Let's get started with our first one of the video. This question comes from Dove1 and they ask, in your opinion, what do you think the chances are of these levels coming to Apeirophobia, and would they be good additions? Honestly, all of these levels would be great additions. Especially the Endless City. I feel like some have more of a chance to make it to the game, like Memories or Endless City, over the others. The second question comes from It's Just Zach and they ask, what would be the most annoying Backrooms level from the Backrooms wiki? To be honest, I'm not sure how to answer this question. In terms of gameplay, I couldn't give you a specific answer, but if we're talking about just in general, then probably any negative or sub-levels. Next question comes from House Hoku CC 850 and they ask, in one of the sneak peeks, a party pooper can be seen there. Do you think they're adding party poopers to the game? I think them adding a party pooper as an actual entity is a pretty slim chance. But the game talking or mentioning them, absolutely. Our fourth question comes from Excalibur the Knight and they ask, what's the level you're most excited for the next update? The level I'm most excited for this coming update is level Fun. I'm so excited to explore the whole level, finding Easter eggs and different references to other levels. Next up we have Silly Me who asks, do you think the Apeirophobia developers will add a buff to level 9? If so, then what buffs would they add? I actually don't think they'll do anything to level 9. It is a pretty boring level, but it isn't that big and it seems to fit nicely between the rest of the levels. Our next question comes for Relather and they ask, should Apeirophobia add sub-levels and enigmatic levels? And imagine if they added level 10. I don't think they should add sub-levels. Enigmatic levels are great, I don't mind them at all, but sub-levels just feel like they don't have a place in the game. Also, level 10 would be a great addition to the game. Next question comes from Green Awesome 205 and they ask, are you ever going to make a video with you playing with fans? I love your videos and I would be more than glad to see you play with fans. I believe I answered this question in my last Q&A, but of course I will. Whether that be on Apeirophobia or some other game is all up to what you guys want. I don't know when exactly I'll play with some of you, but I would like to get a Discord out beforehand so it'll make it a lot easier to reach out to you guys. The next couple questions come from Bria Jones and they ask, how would you feel if there was gonna be 75 to 100 levels in Apeirophobia? Do you think some of the emojis might mean something else? And does the stalker look like the Trevor Henderson ghost chicken? To answer your first question, I wouldn't mind at all if the game got over 50 levels. I hope the game goes in that direction since there's an endless amount of level ideas that could be added. To answer your second question, out of all the sneak peeks, the emoji ones are the more difficult to narrow down since they're very vague. It's definitely possible that some of the ones I talked about have a whole different meaning. I've seen some of you guys in my comments talk about how the cat emoji could be referencing Samantha the cat, and I say it's completely plausible. To answer your last question, yes, I think the developers of the game got huge inspiration from Trevor Henderson's ghost chicken. Next up we have Kian D who asks, do you believe the older version of level 4 should be re-added? Sure. I don't see why not. The only problem with the level is that it caused major lag to players on lower-end devices. If they can fix that, then I don't see why they wouldn't add it back. Our next question comes from Dochin Partygoer and they ask, will the party poopers be an entity that's helpful in level Fun? Like I said earlier, I'm not too sure if party poopers are even going to be an entity, but if they were, I would imagine them to help us escape the level. The next question comes from Cheemsburger who asks, what is going to be the harder level in Apeirophobia? Electrical Station or level Fun? I believe level Fun would be the more difficult of the two. Partygoers are pretty aggressive, while stalkers tend to stalk you, hence the name. Next up we have BAS is Cool who asks, what are your future plans for this channel? Are you planning to make different content? And what's your favorite game other than Roblox? I actually haven't thought about the future of my channel. I know I'll still be making videos on Apeirophobia as long as it's still getting updated, but I'm not the type of person to have a whole plan set out before me. I usually just go with the flow. But to answer your last question, my favorite game other than Roblox has to be Rocket League. Our next question comes from Meat Grinder and they ask, what are your pronouns? My pronouns are he, him. I appreciate you for asking. The follow-up question comes from Guest 1 who asks, will you ever do tier lists? Yes. This is a great idea. I plan to do one once this next update rolls out. Next up we have Proper Snake who asks, congrats on 500 man, well earned. What are your thoughts on Among Us? Thank you so much. And to answer your question, I think the game is very fun. Although I did stop playing it a couple months after it got really popular, I still enjoy playing it from time to time. The next question comes from Razki and they ask, how do you feel about being with the Apeirophobia community? I feel awesome being in a community like this. Reading your guys' comments make my day all the time and I enjoy scrolling down and responding to them. Next up we have Something Gaming who asks, what do you think the partygoers mechanics could be? I've said it in a previous video before, but I think they will play nursery rhyme songs that make us run slower because it's a known trait of partygoers to be pretty slow. It would give them a good advantage since we could easily outrun them. Our next question comes from Who? And they ask, when did you first hear about the backrooms? I don't know exactly when, but I do know it was within the last 2 years. About a year after the whole 4chan post was made about it. The follow-up question comes from E, and they ask, should they add almond water like a healing object? I am not totally against this. I think it's a neat idea but it kind of takes away from the fact that the entities one-shot you. I don't have a definite opinion on it. The next question comes from CMBXP who asks, how did you get your profile picture? And another question, what do you think is your favorite entity or entities in the game? To answer your first question, I got my profile picture from taking an image I had on my phone and putting an accessory I have on my Roblox character on top of it. To answer your second question, my favorite entity in the game currently is probably the cameraman. The screams it makes are so chilling. Our next question comes from Lorne Spider 122 and they ask, if the game master was an Apeirophobia, what do you think the mechanics will be? I would assume it'd be very similar to the wiki, with her being a godlike entity that can bend reality. Next up we have Arian who asks, are you feeling impatient for the next update? 'Cause I sure am. I have to be honest, yes a little bit. But I understand that the developers are hard at work and I would much rather have a finished and complete update instead of a rushed, lazy one. Next question comes from the Alt button and they ask, what editor do you use, and will you rank the new 9 levels from least to best? Currently I use Adobe Premiere Pro as my video editing software. To answer your second question, I plan on ranking them yes. I also plan on redoing my previous ranking for level 1 through 10 since it was kind of sloppy and I feel like I could have done a better job on it. Follow-up questions come from Starmaster 120 who asks, do you like Kanye West, will you stream the next update, and how did you find out about Apeirophobia? To answer your first question, yes I love Kanye West. He is definitely in my top 10 favorite artists currently. To answer your second question, I haven't decided yet. It all depends on my schedule and if I have the time. And to answer your last question, I found out about Apeirophobia through iShowSpeed and 8-Bit Ryan a while back. Our next question comes from Ultimate Roleplay and they ask, what do you think the room in level 12 with the big piano and stuff mean? Personally I don't think it means anything specifically. It seems to add to the ambience and environment very well. Feel free to let me know what you guys think about it in the comments. Next up we have that one Roblox guy who asks, do you think this game will have 100 plus in like a few years? I assume you meant 100 plus levels. If so then yeah, if the game gets consistent updates, I'm sure they could knock out 100 in less than a few years. Our next question comes from Leo Eiler who asks, what would your favorite level be when the update comes out, and may I adopt you sir? To answer your first question, it would probably be level fun, for obvious reasons. And as for your second question, sure, go for it. Next up we have Spider Monkey who asks, what games in Roblox do you like except Apeirophobia? I played and still play a lot of Assassin, Arsenal, and Michael Zombies. They have been in my rotation for a bit now. The next question comes from Vitamin Delicious Better Than Digito. Great name by the way. But they ask, how did your channel get successful quickly? Well, good question. Our third to last question comes from SUS18 who asks, when is level 94 getting added? I'm going to piggyback off of Dove1's theory and say it's probably going to come to the game in the update after this next upcoming update. It would make sense for it to be this update's quote-unquote teaser level. Next up we have Pepper who asks, do you like pepper? I love pepper. Goes great with ranch dip. And last but not least we have Cat Kitty Kitty Puppy who asks, opinion on the Simpsons movie. I actually haven't watched it yet. No opinion as of right now, but I assume it's good because after all, it is the Simpsons. And with that being said, that's the end of today's video. I appreciate your guys' patience. Hoping to expect a new update for Apeirophobia soon. Keep an eye out for any channel updates. Thanks for watching.